So welcome back to the Business Warroom podcast. I'm your host, Vinny G. So after the $29 trap episode, I received relentless emails about, Vinny, can you do the episode on the $1 million Net Manifesto? Engineering a pest control homogeny. So if you're ready, let's get to it. So, Joey, if you're listening, listen close. You wanted to stop playing in the dirt and start netting. Netting, not grossing, $1 million a year. That's $83,333 in take-home profit every single month. Now, to do that in a grubby industry, you have to stop being a bug guy and start being a systemic arbitrager. So the moment you've been waiting for, here is the deep dive for a 7-figure net pest control enterprise. I want to begin with the revenue model, which I call the continuity fortress. Now, to net $1 million, assuming a healthy 30% net margin, which is elite in this space, you need to gross roughly $3.3 million. You cannot do that with the $29 transactional sprays. Let's start with the contractual recurring revenue. You must shift to a subscription-based life cycle. Your base service should be a multi-year contract with an auto renewal clause. Commercial residential hybridization is key because residential provides the margin, commercial provides the volume floor. You want to target high compliance industries where pest control isn't a choice, it's a regulatory requirement. This makes your revenue recession proof. You want to develop an ancillary upsell ecosystem. Your core pest service is the Trojan horse. Your profit comes from high margin termite triage, exclusion services, that's physical property sealing, and for those in specific markets, attic insulation remediation. These are $2,000 to $5,000 tickets with 60% margins. Onto operational efficiency. That's your Lean Six Sigma on wheels. See, Joey, your trucks are driving too much. Windshield time is where profit goes to die. You got to develop route density and geospatial optimization. You don't want to take a client unless they're within a 5-mile radius of an existing cluster. We're looking for an LER of 4 to 1. So for every dollar you pay a tech, they must generate $4 in revenue. Onto the hub and spoke dispatch. As you scale to that $3.3 million gross, you don't just add trucks, you add satellite depots to minimize non-productive drive time. And finally, your chemical arbitrage. Buy your AIs in massive bulk or white label your own formulations. Move from the general spraying to integrated pest management, which uses more data and fewer chemicals, lowering your COGS while justifying a premium, eco-friendly price point. On to what's really important to me is financial engineering, and that's the path to the $1 million net. Now, let's look at the unit economics required to hit the $1 million net mark. So I'm going to begin with a metric, then a target goal, and then the business war room logic. So let's begin with annual gross revenue. Your target goal is $3,335,000 and the baseline for a 30% net. Next, your average revenue per technician. Your target goal is $250,000, and that requires 13 to 14 highly efficient technicians. onto your customer acquisition cost, which needs to be less than $150. And that's driven by referrals and SEO, not 50% off stunts. Your lifetime value, $4,500 plus, based on a 5-year retention and 2 upsells. And finally, your beta margins should be 30 to 35%. This is where you become a top 1% operator. Now, on to working capital management. You collect your payments via ACH auto pay on the first of the month before service is rendered. You are the bank. You use the market's money to fund your growth. Now, on to my favorite, the tax strategy. At $1 million net, you aren't a sole prop anymore. You're looking at an S Corp or LLC with a C Corp election to optimize your qualified business income, your QBI, deductions, and depreciating your fleet via Section 179 to wipe out the tax liability. Onto human capital. That's your management versus the labor. You cannot micromanage 14 trucks, Joey, from your mother's basement. The tiered management layer is what you need. You need a director of operations and a lead sales inspector. Your job is no longer killing bugs. It's capital allocation and brand stewardship. Your technician's performance should be based compensation. Every tech should have a profit share on their specific route. If they keep churn below 5% and upsell exclusion work, they get a piece of the upside. This turns employees into entrepreneurs. See, Joey, the difference between you and $1 million net is discipline. You want it to look rich with the wraps and polos. A business war room operator wants to be rich with spreadsheets and systems. You stop being a hater when you start being a student. If you can't handle the math, you'll never handle the money. See, scaling isn't about doing more work. It's about building a machine that works more than you do at a margin the market can't ignore. Now, if I remember correctly, you said the word dynasty. Most people hear that and they think of a TV show or a sports team that won a few rings back to back. In the business war room, a dynasty isn't about a hot streak. It's about intergenerational capital transfer and building an organization that survives the person who started it. See, Joey from the pest control shop, he's a flash in the pan. He's a firecracker, makes a little noise, leaves a smell, and then he's gone. A dynasty is a nuclear reactor. It builds on things Joey can't even spell. Let me share with you the 3 pillars of a business dynasty, in my opinion. Number 1, structural immortality, institutional memory. A dynasty doesn't rely on the heroics of the founder. If the business dies when you die, you didn't build a dynasty. You built a monument to your own ego. The war room move, you codify every decision, making process into a corporate constitution. You move from management by personality to management by objective. Onto succession planning. You identify your high potentials 3 levels deep. You aren't just training technicians, you're growing the next CEO. Number 2, diversified asset moats. A dynasty never rests on one revenue stream. That's how you get disrupted. See, vertical integration, you don't just run the pest control business. Your dynasty owns the real estate the trucks are parked in, the chemical distribution company that sells the product, and the software that manages the routes. That's where risk mitigation comes in. You distribute your wealth into non-correlated assets. While the pest control company is your cash cow, your dynasty is buying distressed multifamily real estate or private equity stakes in boring, recession-proof utilities. And finally, the psychological legacy, the family office. This is where the PhD meets the pavement. You have to wire the next generation for stewardship, not consumption. So how's that done? The trust structure. You don't leave your kids a pile of cash to blow on Lambos and bad habits. You leave them a family office with a board of directors. They don't get the money. They manage the legacy. And the Machiavellian education. You teach them the math of the arena before they could drive. They need to understand compound interest, tax shielding, and psychological dominance as their first language. So listen, Joey Bug Spray is worried about next month's truck note. I'm worried about my great-grandkids' market positioning. That is the difference in wiring. You want a dynasty? You got to stop thinking in paychecks and start thinking in centuries. It's about building something that's so operationally sound and financially fortified that the world can't take it down, even after you're in the ground. See, a king builds a palace for himself. An emperor builds an empire for his lineage. Choose which one you are before you pick up the tools. I want to thank you guys for all the support. Don't forget, follow us all over social media, share the podcast. I'll see you all on the next episode. Peace.